Have you ever thought about what a user's guide for life itself would look like? Well, today, that's exactly what we're doing. We're going to unpack the science of biology to find the fundamental rules that run every single living thing on this planet, from the tiniest microbe to the biggest whale.
And seriously, when you stop and think about it, that's a pretty wild question. Life is just so incredibly diverse. You've got microscopic bacteria, you've got plants that are hundreds of feet tall, and then you have this one fungus in Oregon that spans nearly 10 square kilometers. It's huge! So how on earth can just one field of science have the user's guide for all of that?
Well, it turns out the answer is actually beautifully simple. Biology, with all its mind-boggling complexity, is really just built on a foundation of 5 core unifying themes. And once you get these, you basically have the toolkit to understand the entire living world.
All right, so where do we even start with all this diversity? We start with the first theme, the basic blueprint of life. It's all about organization. Every living thing, no matter how simple or how complex, follows a very specific, structured plan.
And at the very heart of that organization is the cell. You know, the cell theory is one of the most important ideas in all of biology. It tells us two simple but really profound things. First, if it's alive, it's made of one or more cells. And second, cells don't just magically appear. They can only come from another cell that already exists. This is the bedrock of all growth and reproduction.
Okay, so if everything is made of cells, what's telling those cells what to do? That brings us to our second theme, the code. See, inside every single cell is a set of instructions that basically runs the whole show.
And that code is written in a molecule you've definitely heard of, DNA. The easiest way to think about it is like the ultimate recipe book for life. This long, spiraling molecule has all the information needed to build and run an organism, and it gets passed down from one generation to the next. The fact that pretty much all life uses this same code, well, that's a huge clue about where we all came from.
So what's really cool is how this code actually gets used. It's basically a 3-step process. First, you have the master code, the DNA, which is kept super safe inside the cell's nucleus. Then, a little messenger molecule called mRNA makes a temporary copy of one of the recipes and carries it out. And finally, the cell's machinery reads that copy and uses it to build a specific protein, which then goes off and does a job. So you've got code, copy, create. That's how the blueprint becomes reality.
Now that we've got the code, let's look at the actual tools it creates. Our third theme is the toolkit. And this is a really elegant idea. In biology, the way something is shaped is directly related to the job it has to do. In other words, form follows function. Right, so the key thing here is that you can learn a ton just by looking. If you analyze a structure, you can make a really good guess about its function. And the other way around, if you know what something does, you can understand why it's built the way it is. It's like having the absolute perfect tool for every single job.
And a bird's wing is just a perfect example of this. I mean, it's a masterpiece of engineering, right? Its shape is aerodynamic so it can create lift. It's powered by these massive chest muscles that are anchored to a wide chest bone. And get this, even its skeleton has little airbags inside to cut down on weight. Every single detail is optimized for one thing and one thing only, flight.
And that leads us perfectly into our fourth and honestly most powerful theme, the engine of life itself, evolution. This is the big idea that explains where all of life's incredible toolkits and all the amazing diversity they create actually came from in the first place.
You know, the idea of evolution didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It was built on the work of a lot of scientists. You had Linnaeus back in the 1700s classifying all of life's diversity. Then Lamarck proposed that species could change. But it was Charles Darwin in 1859 who finally gave us the key mechanism for how it all works, natural selection.
So what exactly is natural selection? Well, at its core, it's a really simple idea. It's just the observation that in any group of living things, the ones with traits that give them a little bit of an edge in their environment are more likely to survive, have more kids, and pass those winning traits on. This little example with the beetles, it shows you exactly how it works. For natural selection to happen, you only need 3 things. First, there has to be variation. So, some beetles are green, some are brown. Second, differential reproduction. This just means the environment, in this case hungry birds, favors one trait over the other. The green ones get eaten more. And third, heredity. The brown beetles that survive pass their brown color trait to their babies. And over time, the whole population can shift to become brown.
And the result of this simple process playing out over billions and billions of years? An absolutely incredible explosion of diversity. Biologists have identified and named about 1.5 million different species, and that's just what we found so far. The real number is probably way, way higher.
But here's the really mind-blowing thing about evolution. It doesn't just explain all that diversity, it also explains life's incredible unity. I mean, despite all that variety, all life shares these core conserved features. Like we said, every organism we've ever studied uses DNA. And that is powerful, powerful evidence that all life on this planet came from a single, common ancestor.
Okay, so let's put all these pieces together. How do these themes connect to give us the big picture? Let's do a quick recap of the core ideas that give us this complete view of biology.
And here they are in a nutshell. Life is organized into cells. Those cells are run by instructions stored in DNA. The parts of living things have structures that perfectly fit their function. And all of this is shaped by evolution through natural selection, which creates both the unity we see in our shared traits and the amazing diversity of life on Earth. That's it. That's the user's guide.
So the big takeaway here is that these 5 principles are like the universal rules for all known life on Earth, which leaves us with a really fascinating final question. Are these just the rules for life on our planet? Or are they the rules for life everywhere in the universe? What do you think?